The demand for these sales professionals has grown up to 400% in the past 5 years. More and more companies going online. But the supply of candidates has only jumped by 50%. Now is the golden age of remote high-ticket sales. There's really never been a better time. It's a perfect storm, really.
Yeah.
And the window won't be open like this forever.
There's some very clear reasons as to why this is happening.
We've got 5 points to explore, and so we'll jump straight into the first, which is there are companies we know now are paying up to $90,000 as a base salary for an appointment setter who's trained, and they're earning up to $130,000, which seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
Adrian's another example, earning up to $100K a month. There's a good opportunity to establish yourself over the next few years where that opportunity may not be there for new entrants in, say, 4 or 5, how many years. I've got a bonus. We've got a number 6. The industry.
This was the biggest one and we've left it for number 6.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Remote Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Cochrane, co-founder of Remote Sales Institute. I'm joined by my co-founder of Remote Sales Institute, 1,500 candidates placed, over hundreds of business owners worked with in nearly a decade as a recruiter, recruiting royalty, and also Newcastle Young Entrepreneur 2022. Am I right, Sharni?
I don't know where you got that from, but sure, let's run with it. That's not even a real award.
I remember when we first met, you were some sort of recruiting business owner, but also like a young entrepreneur in Newcastle.
Yeah, well, there's not too many young entrepreneurs in Newcastle who are doing things, so it's not too hard to stand out. No, that's a lie. There's some great entrepreneurs in Newcastle. But I think what you're referring to is Daily Mail, actually a prestigious,
very trusted, reputable
media outlet, named me as one of the top, hottest 30 under 30 to watch
in Newcastle.
So prestigious award. But it was kind of cool. I didn't actually know about it. A friend was sitting in the office and was like, "Have you seen this?"
I had no idea. But I knew there was some sort of media, some sort of entrepreneur thing. Giving you a shout out.
I had a few little
like
media mentions.
awards, but not really awards, but mentions.
Awards, but not really awards, but like
recruiting royalty. We'll keep it at
that.
recruiting royalty, sales recruiting royalty. But welcome back to another episode of the Remote Sales Podcast.
Thank you. You forgot to mention as well, I don't know if you guys can see, but we've got Barney in the studio as well today. So
welcome, Barney.
Welcome, Barney.
He's doing a lot today.
He's the most this morning.
Having a snooze just down below. All right, guys, we're here to talk about why now is the golden age of remote high-ticket sales. Why there's really never been a better time, and we've said this a lot. We've said this a lot lately. But I thought we'd record an episode to describe sort of what is happening and why there may never be another time like this where, so many factors are converging to make this such a great time to get into remote sales or to be in remote sales, to really capitalize on your opportunity in the career to progress yourself. It's a perfect storm, really.
Yeah.
And the window, and I do think it's a window, it may not be open or it won't be open like this forever.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Like we've been feeling it because we see every day the results that we've been seeing students have, our candidates, people, just connections that we know, even business owners in the space are kind of hitting this real golden age of their business. But when we unpacked it, there's some very clear reasons as to why this is happening. And so, yeah, we're keen to share this with you guys today on the pod.
Cool. And we've got five points to explore. And so we'll jump straight into the first, which is the post-pandemic migration online. Since COVID, where everyone had to get online and now businesses are starting to come back into the office, we've also seen a lot of businesses have not gone back to the office and actually have adapted to life online and working from home.
Yeah, and we'll dive into this a little bit later on the podcast, but it's kind of this maturity of businesses moving online that's really happening right now. And so there was obviously the hype, the huge hype around, we can actually work from home and we can do our jobs from home. And a lot of big businesses, and I was in one at the time, moved everybody remote because they had to, and then realized, we can actually, our people will do work if we let them sit at home rather than drive an hour into the office. But there was a bit of hype recently, especially with, I think Jeff Bezos was kind of promoting that he's bringing people back to the office, and there's been a few other kind of big names and businesses that brought people back to the office. But I think attitudes have definitely shifted around the remote work, and especially remote sales and actually buying online. Like, gone are the days where you go and I used to remember I'd be driving to people's offices to go and sit with them and go through their recruitment needs, and like I couldn't think of anything fucking worse than getting in the car and going to an office.
Going to a client's office.
Going to an office.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of businesses, some roles are going back to the office. That makes sense. Sales doesn't seem to be, something that people are bringing back to the office.
Well, I look at it from my perspective as a business owner, and hiring for roles, and you know this from being a recruiter, when you stopped hiring for geographical roles in Newcastle, you stopped hiring real estate salespeople and property managers and people in that industry where your talent pool is so thin, so tiny. There's only a small number of people that fit the criteria of who you're looking to hire. They're often working. You've got to headhunt them. It can take months, sometimes years to recruit that A player. And there's just endless duds. It feels like there's endless duds. And when you land
them, you've got to pay a hell of a lot more to get them as well.
So as a business owner, what this means is that when you have a global talent pool, when you open yourself up, maybe just an Australian, maybe just a national talent pool, and when we stopped recruiting in-person roles, when you stopped recruiting in-person roles, and we started only working with businesses who were wanting to work or who had a remote sales team, who had a remote workforce, the talent pool is just exponential. The talent pool is crazy. What it opens you up to as a business owner, it's just next level. For these types of roles, if you're constricting yourself to whoever is in driving distance to your office to come in and do the work,
and
then you're ripping
office.
yourself off of a big opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so being online, a lot of business owners are seeing that, and so they're staying online. It's, I think, 73%. There's a huge jump of business owners. It was 73%, and now selling online. It's a huge tick up for where business owners used to have a in-person sales process, which is now can all be done online. You're saving on office costs and expenses. You're opening yourself up to a bigger talent pool. So the post-pandemic migration online is a big one. Number 2 is there's been a trust recession. So which means there's big opportunity for people who are selling a different way and selling the high ticket way. So the old way of doing sales is now not working. The kind of flashy, showy sales tactics are not really working. Buyers are way more skeptical. They've got access to online information. And what this means is that the market really wants authentic, consultative salespeople. And so this really lends to the style of selling that works in high ticket sales and remote high ticket sales.
Yeah, definitely. And we probably saw this ramp up around 12 months ago. There was a lot of hype that we were hearing especially the online coaching space around this trust recession. But I think we're well and truly in that now as well. Like when we think about, the post-pandemic move online, there was the hype, and then now it's just the reality. And I think the same goes for the trust recession. There was the hype of, oh my gosh, we're in this trust recession. People's funnels weren't working as well. Like there was all these kind of issues that were coming up for business owners in the coaching space. But now we're just in that, and that's just the norm, is that, you need to build trust. The way you need to sell is consultative, and you don't get away with the old traditional way of pushy selling, which obviously creates a huge opportunity for people who are highly skilled in consultative.
And we see it so many times when we work with students in our training program launch where they've worked in sales often for 20 plus years, and they've worked in sales, and they enter this space and they're very skeptical when they start looking into this, and they're like, hey, I don't really need training. I want to work remote. I've been selling cars at a car yard for 20 years, or I've been selling insurance for a long time. I don't really need training. I've been doing it. I just want a job. I want to work remote. And they realize that it's such a different style of selling.
Well, they're always our best students, because they come in and they go, holy shit, like, I'm so glad I'm doing the training. I think I see the other side of it as well, because I still review a lot of applications. So I see so many people, and we're going to talk about this later as well, because it's a separate kind of point, but so many people who are salespeople now want to sell online, and they have no idea that they need a totally different skill set. They're totally unaware. So our students are always very funny ones when we have these skeptical salespeople come through not thinking that they need any sales experience, and they're probably the people that notice the training and the gap way more than anyone. People who come through and they haven't had any sales experience before, they haven't been taught how to sell before, just think that this is how everyone does it.
Totally. And look, this is going to ripple through to every other industry. As buyer trust decreases further and further, they become more informed. The way that we sell, the way that we close, the way that we appointment set, the way that we do things in the remote closing and remote high-ticket sales space will be the predominant mode of selling. You won't be able to get away with selling just benefits and features and hard pressure tactics in the real world anymore. It's going to really ripple through to every single industry. And so I do think the people who are training this style, this way of selling, will have a huge advantage, even if they wanted to go and get a job selling insurance and selling cars. And often what we also hear is that business owners and people who are selling while they're transitioning.
Well, that's what happened to me. Was I had been taught how to sell from my days in real estate, and I had some really great sales training, like exceptional sales training during that time. But I learned more just sitting next to you for a few months when we were working from home together than I'd learnt in my whole career. It totally shifted how I sold, and we obviously made huge shifts in my business around that time. As a result, started charging fees up front, which is like totally unheard of in recruitment. I stopped working with clients who were, I didn't want to work with, charged a lot more. And yeah, the business actually, what did we end up doing? It at least doubled. I was going to say nearly tripled, but we at least doubled the business as a result of just a shift in the way that I was selling on the front end.
And that just is that totally transformed your business. It was unheard of what you were doing.
It's still pretty
recruiting.
unheard of, in recruiting to charge
getting fees up front. Which just makes I just can't imagine how recruiters and how you go about just working for free for months before you get paid. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. At least charge a retainer. If you're a recruiter listening to this, please start charging retainers
start
or
getting
engagement
cash up
fees
front.
or something.
Start getting exclusivity.
Oh, yeah.
Stop working for free.
We'll do a separate episode on that. Kris can give some sales training for recruiters.
It's called the recruiting special little side note for recruiters, side episode. Number 3 is there is a big skills gap and there is a rising demand for this skill set. As we've just discussed, the way of selling is very different. And we see this time and time again with people who have been selling. They've been trained in sales. They've been working in sales for decades at times. They come in and they are blown away at it's a very different strategy that you're using. You're also leveraging different skills and you've got to really practice different skills. So it is a really different way of selling, and it's super easy to learn for people who have never. It's often easier for people who've never learnt sales to pick it up because they're not having to unlearn old habits, bad habits. So that's why we sometimes like working with people who are a clean slate. But it's a very learnable strategy and skill, but it is very different. So the demand for people who are trained up in this specific style of selling, it's set up to 400%. The demand for these sales professionals has grown up to 400% in the past 5 years, which we've certainly seen that, and it's becoming more and more businesses are opening, more and more companies going online. So 400% seems like a pretty accurate statistic. But the supply of candidates has only jumped by 50%.
Yeah, which also seems very, very accurate as well. Yeah, definitely.
So if you're a company owner and you have you've taken your business online, you've got an influx of leads, you are wanting those leads to be sold or qualified and then closed, but you're only interviewing people who are car salesmen, or they've been selling insurance, or they are an ex-business owner and they're looking to start working. You've got so much to train that person. You've got a huge gap to fill as a business owner, and most businesses just are not set up to train candidates, to give them the training that they need to be successful.
Well, and most of these business owners are not trained salespeople either. They've been able to build their business to a point that they have capacity to hire a salesperson because they're very good at what they do. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're very good at sales, or that they have a great sales process, or that they have any ability to actually train a salesperson. Most of my clients hate sales. It's their least favorite thing to do. they cannot wait to get off calls. So they are hiring someone that they want to come in as an expert who knows exactly what to do, has their own framework, can plug in and sell better than what they've been selling. And so they don't want to train people. Like you'd have to be a pretty standout candidate to land the role with no training or experience. Obviously, if you've got experience in this specific type of selling, then yeah, you might be good to go. But most business owners are looking for someone who's been trained in this specific type of selling. And I would almost call it a process. Like there's a strategy and there's skills that you use during the process, but it's a very specific process. And I think that's what a lot of people who have been in sales before think, that their skills will transfer, which yes, they will. But what they actually need to learn is the process on a call. And they don't know what that process is because they've been selling real estate or recruitment or cars or, solar, whatever it is, where there's this very long sales cycle. You are using a specific process that you've learnt that works for that industry or for that type of sales. But that's very different to jumping on a 45-minute or, even 90-minute phone call or Zoom call with someone that you've never met and having to take them through a very specific process to get to the end and have them decide, yes, this is for me and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay you $20,000 for this thing. Or no, it's not. And to know that, they're not a qualified buyer and be happy to part ways.
Most business owners just don't have a clue how to get there. Most business owners sell from a place of, I'm the person. I'm the guy or girl.
Passion.
I'm on the website. People want to be like me. I achieve the thing. If you're selling property, investment education, I'm the property entrepreneur. I became a millionaire at 20 through property investment. Come learn from me. And people get on a call with that influencer and they're starstruck. Yeah. And they're like, shit, I want to be like you. And that person, most of the time, he's not following much of a process. They don't know how to sell. They're just doing what they do and they're being them. And they're like, hey, here's the thing. Here's how much it is. What do you think? And that's enough to sell if you're an influencer. But if you're a salesperson coming into that team, and we see this a lot with business owners who expect that it's going to be easy. Hey, I'm selling this easily. I'm going to hire a salesperson, bring them in. Why are they not selling? I've been selling this at 60, 70%. Why is this salesperson not selling? Why are they not closing? Well, it's because they're not you.
Yeah.
And they need a proper process. They need a strategy. And not many people are trained in that process and strategy. So if you're not trained, then you're there. It's the blind leading the blind. Yeah. And what this creates.
The skill, sorry, go on, what this creates.
Well, it creates, I was going to say, it creates an inflation of money it's an inflation of salary where you've got high demand and low supply.
Yes.
For a skill, generally, it means that people are getting paid more. People who are trained will generally get paid more, and people who are knowledgeable or experienced. So if you've been out there closing and you've been a high performer and you've got a track record and you've got screenshots of your performance, you've got calls that people could listen to, you've got references that back it up, references from leadership, people you've worked with, managers or business owners, or even your peers. If you've got a reputation, you are highly valuable. You will never have a problem making money, and you're only ever going to have the problem of which offer do I take? Where do I invest my time? Because where you go, wherever you go, you're going to earn good money. You just need to make sure that where you're going is actually going to have the leads and have the right offer.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of setters, entry level setters could be 60K as a base. But there are companies we now are paying up to $90,000 as a base salary for an appointment setter who's trained, and they're earning up to $130,000, which seems crazy to me, having started in this industry back in 2017. Appointment setters were making $1,500 a month base, percentage commission. Maybe they were earning $5,000 a month the guys were crushing it. Now it's just really seems like appointment setters are earning a lot more money.
It's very competitive for a great appointment setter. It's very competitive. It's very difficult to recruit.
It's a hard role to recruit for if you're a company owner, if you're a business owner. Closers are getting a lot more money than what I remember as well when I started.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of the skill gap as well, I often talk about, and people get very nervous when I quote these figures, but I often talk about the volume of applications that we receive for these roles. And I think, and I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but a lot of people freak out when they hear, oh my God, there's thousands of people applying for these roles. But I just can't hammer home enough that 97% of applications that we receive get rejected straight away. They don't make it through to even a shortlist to consider for an interview because they have no skills or experience in this industry. It's very, very uncommon, particularly in Australia, to find somebody who applies for a role, particularly an appointment setting role, that actually has experience. Often business owners are hiring based on training and skill set, that people are able to demonstrate the skills. But 97% of people have neither of those two, so they just are instantly rejected. It's a very, very small pool of candidates who you would even consider for an interview for a lot of these roles, let alone actually hiring them.
I think a reason why this presents an opportunity for people as well is that, this probably won't last forever. This skills gap probably won't last forever. We've started our training organisation. There are many others, and it's only growing. And in terms of then the access to this knowledge, this information, the access to this type of training, it is going to become more and more available. There'll be more and more opportunity to learn this. And so that, I guess, that niche of skill set will become, it'll be less niched. It'll become more mainstream. So I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know how long that's going to take, but I'm certainly thinking this won't last for a long time. That window will start to close for the skills gap. Okay, number 4, technology. Technology is making remote sales easier than ever. So as technology advances, it's becoming easier and easier for business owners to manage a remote workforce and for people to work from home and be really, really effective.
Yeah. And even be really, really effective in the role. Like when you started, I'm guessing there was no, what did a CRM, what did high level look like? Like what did a CRM look like back
That's a good question. That's a good question. So really back in my day, when I used to have to trudge 10Ks in the snow to get to a close. And true story, when I used to have to sell to leads who had booked straight from the internet, gone through a survey, and there was no appointment setting team and there was no pre-call homework. It was just people were getting to my call and my job was to take them from, what the fuck is this? What do you mean? I have no idea who you are, no idea who your company is, no idea what it is that you're actually selling here. But I'm interested in kind of at a high level what the outcomes that you guys have advertised online. I'm kind of interested in that, but the rest I have no idea. You got to take someone who's at that level, say 2 or 3 out of 10. You got to take them to a 10 in 45 minutes because you got a block. You got a call starting in 45 minutes. I used to have them scheduled in for 45 minutes and had to strictly take them through a process to take them from no to hell yes, or from cold to let's do it.
On a phone call.
On a phone call with no Zoom. No, it was no Zoom.
No Zoom in those days.
No homework. No setup. No multi-step process.
Yeah.
It was literally, hey, they watched a video, they came through, they clicked an ad, clicked a link to book a call, and now we're on the phone, and now they're getting their credit card out and they're paying $5,000-$10,000, which is crazy to think now with all of the advancements in the sales process and the strategies that we're using. But technology, Zoom, back in those days was still working, but we just didn't use it much.
Well, I think everyday people didn't use Zoom that much. Like the amount of people that I worked with a big company when COVID happened, and the amount of people across that organization that struggled to use Zoom. And it sounds so crazy to say that now, but a lot of people had never used Zoom before. Unless you had family overseas or, you needed it for a specific meeting, but a lot of people hadn't used Zoom until COVID happened, and then it became so widely accepted to use a Zoom. Everyday people.
Zoom became one of the most successful companies in the world.
I'm sure it bloody did. I should have bought some shares. Would have been smart.
You'd have been up.
I was too busy buying Combank, which also hasn't done too bad. But I think, so in terms of it's fine for a business owner to say, hey, let's jump on Zoom, but prospects need to be comfortable using Zoom as well. And I think prospects are a lot more comfortable using Zoom now, which obviously has its advantages when you're selling because you can build rapport.
Well, I do remember every time that I was on Zoom with prospects, if I took Zoom calls, the call would, again, had 45 minutes to get through this call because I had another call booked. The first 5 to 7 minutes were, hey, I can't get on.
You're
hey,
on
where's
mute.
the link? Email's been sent. Hey, where's the link? They're struggling to get on. Maybe they're on their phone now, and I have to call them and I have to sort of send them a link again. It was just, that seems to not be happening anywhere near as much anymore. So people are way more tech savvy.
It's a very basic example. I mean, there are other things like AI for lead
Prospecting.
Prospecting, but lead, what's it called? Where you qualify, where you know if a lead's more engaged or less engaged.
Oh, yeah, engagement
lead scoring,
scores.
engagement,
lead scoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
CRMs like high level have come a long way and they make life so much easier. They make life so much easier. So I'm seeing appointment setters, closers getting through a lot more work because technology is taking care of a lot of their low level stuff, and AI as well, like sending of emails, preparing for sales calls, reviewing someone's information just really quickly, rapidly. It gives you some notes and prompts for your sales call, so you don't have to prepare as much. Your follow-up is so much easier because AI can write the email for you. And what that allows salespeople to do is be more productive and stay dollar productive and do the things that drive revenue. So stay hunting and let the farming be taken care of by AI. And yeah, CRMs are just so much more powerful now. And I would just say that one of our students is a good representation of this, James McFarlane, who landed a role and was on the next flight to Greece and was able to close and take deals while he was in Greece, take calls, close deals, and then switch off and have fun in Greece straight away after he was a physio, quit his physio job, went over to Greece, and technology just allowed him to be super productive while he was
Very
over there.
productive.
Internet was strong.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi was everywhere you can get Wi-Fi. It's super strong Wi-Fi these days. Yeah, great video calling, big trust. All the stars are aligned there for this.
What's
So there you
next?
go, technology number 4. And number 5, the final, is the globalization of the remote sales market. So the global talent pool from both employers and salespeople. It's becoming more and more, I guess, accepted now that as a business owner, you can get talent not just in your country, but different countries. And as a salesperson, we've seen people who are getting up early to work on the US, as I used to, work on the US time zone, then they're working in the Australian time zone, and then some of the crazy MFers are doing UK work in the evening times, and they're looking to make as much as they can, and it allows them to open up their space. So accessing a global market is becoming a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's the people on that side of the spectrum who, are using that opportunity to make as much money as they can. And then there's other people who are using that opportunity to move to a different country. So, and we're talking about this, spoiler alert, but we'll probably talk about it later on. But, looking at what we want out of life, what we want out of our lifestyle, how we want to raise our children, all of that sort of thing. Because of the way that these markets operate, we can go and live in another country and probably, if we were a closer, for example, we could go and live in another country that's not Australia and it's not the US, but still have access to opportunities in the Australian and US markets. I
agree. And also, if you want to live in a cheaper country like a Thailand or a Bali or a Vietnam, and you are closing for a US company and you're earning the US dollar, that goes a long way when you're in Thailand. You're living and you're eating pad thai for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It goes a really long way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we were doing some research the other day, and most people who we were watching some YouTube videos, most people were talking about it's, $1,500 to $2,000-ish a month in expenses to live.
Well, Jacob, who's one of our students and a legend,
been on the pod,
young fella, friend of the pod. Living in Thailand, earning $50,000 a month, Aussie, not US, but Aussie, $50,000 a month in Thailand. What are you doing with that cash?
Yeah.
How are you spending that? You can't spend that all, and he does it. He's investing, he's working towards that, but you can live such a small, minimal finance going out, lots coming in.
Yeah,
it really set yourself up for life, for sure.
Absolutely. And the access to the amount of opportunities. We get access to a lot of opportunities in Remote Sales Institute, and it would be above 300 a month opportunities that we're posting,
Easily.
and they're global opportunities. So, you open yourself up to the US market, the UK market. There are so many opportunities.
The Spanish-speaking market.
I was about to say,
Colombia,
the Spanish-speaking market is an interesting one as well.
Latin America.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit of a niche. That's an interesting one. If you guys can speak Spanish,
Yes.
there is actually a
better
niche.
than we can.
There are a lot of Spanish-speaking
Offers.
influencers and agencies who only sell to Spanish-speaking clients and customers. They need closers. They need appointment setters. So there you go. If you are in that category, if you're Spanish, if you know Spanish well, then again you've got way more options. I've got a bonus. I've got a bonus.
Ooh, okay.
Bonus. We've got a number 6.
What's number 6?
It's a bonus.
What's the bonus?
The industry is maturing. So it's a maturing, but it's not too mature. So it's like the Goldilocks zone of being mature.
This is
but
the
not
biggest
too mature.
one. This is the biggest one, and we've left it for number 6.
Of course we have. It's the bonus.
Oh, it's the bonus. Okay,
It's the bonus.
It's the hook to keep people. Hopefully, you're still listening. I mean, if you can hear this, you are. So well done. You got to the bonus.
You did.
Number 6, which is the best one for sure.
I think it's hitting a spot where early when I started closing, and there were people before me closing before that. A lot of it happened in the days of Sam Ovens, and there was a course that came out, and then he was selling the course online. You could buy it, but then there was lots more competition coming, and prices started to go higher. So what kind of happened in the industry is that people were selling low ticket and having lots and lots of customers, found that was a headache. So they started to realize that selling expensive stuff to less people is so much easier as a business model. But when you're selling expensive stuff, you need a person there, a human to close that. And Sam Ovens was one of the first. It was like one of the OGs, and then came a lot of others. And in those early days, it was very much cowboy central. I found it was harder to sell. It was in some ways it was harder to find a role that was good.
Yeah.
It was harder to sell to prospects. There was a lot of opportunity because no one was doing it, but it was definitely a grind at the time. Whereas now the industry's matured to a stage where there's lots more businesses who are opening up, a lot more reputable and established, and
There's a
they
lot
know
more
what they're doing.
established businesses. Yeah, there are businesses now that have been around since that Sam Ovens stage, and they've learned so much, and they've got, a proven sales process, sales leadership. We work with clients who have, VPs of sales in different parts of the world, and then under that they've got, sales managers and team leaders, and there's so much support for people to come into their ecosystem and just earn great cash, work great hours, slot into their way of doing things, this beautiful organizational structure with, an operations team and a tech support team. And, the businesses are very established in this space now. Whereas I can imagine when you first started, lots of those businesses were also just starting, and they were maybe the founder and, you're their first salesperson, and just slot in and figure it out. And if you can, that's great. You'll earn money.
It was more like an experimental phase for businesses and salespeople. And it was also not really seen as a career path.
Yeah.
You're a closer, you're in there, but it didn't feel like a career path. It felt like, hey, I'm just a bit of a high ticket cowboy out here.
Gonna make some cash and
with
hopefully
with a business that's spending shitloads of money on ads, but then in many cases not really delivering on their promises.
Yeah. There's some great examples as well that we've seen of people. I mean, you're one of them, obviously, but there's so many great examples that we've seen of people who've come through in the early days of you training people in this space, and they've now gone on to do amazing things and build really amazing careers in this space, like Lewis, who we had, friend of the pod as well, Lewis Kapner. And we had Lewis come and speak to our Remote Sales Institute students last week, I think it was.
Last week, yeah.
Which was
last Monday.
So awesome. Lewis, you're such a legend if you are listening. So thank you for doing that. It was just such a great session. And what made it such a great session is because he's had a really amazing career journey in this space, and it's only just kind of getting started. But he's now, went from a physio a couple of years ago, started as a closer. He's been with the same business the whole time. He's now leading a team of 7 people. He's about to hire a manager of their setting team who were reporting to him. You know, he's very quickly kind of on that trajectory to VP of sales, I guess.
Yeah, which is a high earning and massively fulfilling role to play, and it just shows the career path, which just they weren't there. There wasn't a career path, and I'm seeing at the moment where I feel like we're in a bit of a mature phase or starting to mature. I've gone through experimental into, I guess, a growth phase, probably circa 2020, 2021-ish to 2022 or 3. And I think that where we're at now, you've got established companies, you've got really reputable offers, you've got marketing, which is working, more and more buyers are online, and you also have career pathways. And I think it'll head to a stage where it gets overcrowded.
Yeah.
We're not saturated. There's no saturation at the moment of salespeople. Or, you know, as we said, there's a skills gap. There's a huge demand. The skills trained professionals, the amount of trained professionals hasn't caught up to the skills, to what the demand is out there. But I think that will happen.
Yeah.
But right now you're in a good spot where you've got, you know, you're not having to kind of work your own, you know, get to a business, have your own script, sell to leads who just have no idea about you, work in a company which has no idea how to run a team, how to run an online team, and work in a weird culture. You're in a phase which I think is a really great phase. Really great phase. And I think if maybe, I don't know how many years it will take for it to reach a maturation where it's becoming saturated.
It's very common, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that opportunity might not be as strong for people who are new.
Yeah.
For people who are new. So whereas the people who are established, if you're establishing yourself like a Lewis or like an Adrian. Adrian's another example of a guy who's come through and he's earning. Yeah, it's not all about the earnings, but he's living in Colombia. He's
built a really amazing team,
beautiful life,
business, and it's been super fulfilling.
Earning up to 100K a month, which is insane. Yeah, so these types of people who are already established and people who are entering now, you've got a better ride. It's an easier ride, but it's also, there's a good opportunity to establish yourself over the next few years where that opportunity may not be there for new entrants in, say, 2 or 3, 4, 5, how many years coming up. So I think I think that's probably the big kicker is you're in a stage now. You're early enough that you're a pioneer, but
not so early that it's Cowboy Central.
not so early that you're just not going to be able